If you've been trying to memorize a bunch of commands, just stop. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you the simple visual logic that the whole language is built on. Honestly, it's this little shift in how you think that's going to completely change how you work with data.
Okay, let me ask you something. Do you remember Venn diagrams from school? You know, those overlapping circles that showed what different groups had in common? Well, believe it or not, that super simple concept is actually the secret key to understanding how databases think and how SQL really works.
See, SQL isn't just some random list of commands you have to cram into your brain. It's a language, and it's built on something called set theory, which is just a fancy way of saying it uses the exact same logic as a Venn diagram. The moment you see it like this, I promise, you'll go from just memorizing code to actually understanding how to have a conversation with your data.
So, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll cover the basic idea of data as a set. Then, we'll look at how to filter inside that set. After that, we'll get into the cool part, combining different sets. And finally, we'll tie it all together.
All right, let's dive in. First things first, we've got to start with the foundation. Before you can ask all those complex questions, you have to get a handle on the what, the data itself. And in the database world, everything, and I mean everything, starts with this simple idea of a set. So here it is, the big idea. A database table, let's say an employee table, is just one big circle. That's it. It's one set that holds all of our records. In this case, every single one of our employees. This is our universe, our starting point.
Okay, so we've got our big circle full of employees. But how do we find specific people inside that circle? Well, this is where our first group of logical tools comes into play. These are the things that let us pick and choose from within that one set.
First up is the AND operator. Think of AND as your tool for getting super specific. It finds records that have to meet multiple rules at the exact same time. It's all about that overlap inside our big circle. So for example, we're looking for people who are both male and also work in the IT department.
And this is what that looks like in actual code. It's so straightforward. The where clause kicks off our filter, and then the and makes sure that we only get back the records that checked both boxes. They've got to be male, and they've got to be in IT.
But what if you want to cast a wider net, be more inclusive? That's where the OR operator is your best friend. Instead of making things smaller, OR makes them bigger. It grabs anyone who meets the first rule, or the second rule, or even both. It's basically scooping up a few groups and putting them all together.
Just look at this. It's amazing how changing one single word completely changes the question we're asking. We're not looking for just the male employees in IT anymore. Nope. Now we're asking for a huge list of everybody who's male plus everybody who works in IT, all lumped together. Okay, our last tool for filtering is the NOT operator. And this one is simple. It's all about subtraction. This is what you use when you know exactly what you don't want. It's like telling the database, hey, show me everything in this group, just leave out anyone who matches this one rule.
And again, look how simple the code is. This query just asks for every single employee where the gender is not male. It's just a super clean, direct way to chop a whole section out of your data. All right, so filtering inside one set, we've got that down. Now let's level up. We're going to look at something even more powerful. What happens when you combine the results of two totally separate queries? We're officially moving beyond one circle and starting to play with two or more.
So let's talk about union. Imagine you run two different searches, and you get two different lists of results. Union just takes those two lists and stacks them into one big list. But here's the key thing you got to remember. Union is tidy. It automatically goes through and gets rid of any duplicates for you.
And this right here, this is a super important pro tip. If you know for a fact that your lists won't have any duplicates, or maybe you just don't care if they do, use union all instead. It is way, way faster. And why? Well, it's simple. The database gets to skip that whole extra step of hunting down and deleting the duplicates.
Okay, now this is what you think of when you picture a Venn diagram. This is that perfect little overlapping section in the middle. The INTERSECT operator takes two separate lists of results and only shows you the things that appear on both lists. It is the literal common ground between two different questions.
So let's see how that works. You run the first query and you get a list of all the male employees. Then you run a second query and you get a list of everybody in the IT department. INTERSECT then just looks at both lists and says, okay, who is on list A and list B? And that's who you get back. Now, this is a really important point, so listen up. It's easy to get AND and INTERSECT mixed up, but they're totally different. Remember, AND checks multiple conditions during one single search. INTERSECT runs two completely separate searches first, and then it compares the final lists to find what's in common. It's a subtle difference, but it's a really powerful one. And last but not least, we have except. This is our subtraction tool when we're dealing with multiple sets. It's pretty much just telling the database, hey, run this first search for me, then run this second search. Now show me everything from that first list, but take out anything that also showed up in the second list.
This example makes it super clear, right? First, we get our list of all males. Then, we get our list of everyone in IT. Except takes that first list of males and just subtracts anyone who is also on the IT list. And what are you left with? All the male employees who do not work in IT. Simple as that.
Okay, let's wrap this up and bring it all together. What have we really learned here? We've seen that talking to a database isn't some black magic that requires memorizing tons of code. It's just applying a few really simple, logical rules to groups of information. When you boil it all down, it comes back to these core ideas. You can filter inside a set with and, or, and not. Or you can manage multiple sets by combining them with union, finding that sweet spot of overlap with INTERSECT, or subtracting one from the other with EXCEPT. That's pretty much the whole game.
And this is what I really want you to take away from all this. The moment you start seeing SQL through this lens of simple logic, it just stops being scary. It becomes this predictable, consistent system. You're not just banging out code anymore. You're carefully building a logical question.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. The real power here isn't about knowing a bunch of commands. It's about knowing how to think. Once you understand this logical framework, you're not limited by the code you can remember anymore. You're only limited by the